Before sunrise on November 16, 2025, Southern California was hit by a storm so intense that millions felt the shift instantly. What began as a routine Pacific system exploded overnight into a powerful atmospheric river, pushing walls of moisture into one of the most populated regions in the United States. By dawn, the sound of relentless rain echoed through coastal neighborhoods, mountain towns, and desert communities alike. Freeways transformed into rushing waterways. Storm drains erupted under pressure. Hillsides already weakened by extreme heat, and past wildfires started to crumble as the ground reached saturation. Emergency alerts blared across phones urging residents to move quickly, prepare go bags, and stay off the roads. More than 100 homes were ordered to evacuate as firefighters and rescue crews mobilized across Los Angeles, Ventura, and Orange County. For Californians who thought they had seen everything, this storm delivered a sobering reminder: nature still holds the strongest hand. The first major blow struck just after midnight, when the leading edge of the atmospheric river collided with the California coastline. What began as steady rainfall escalated rapidly. By 1:30 a.m., radar showed a massive plume of moisture stretching from the Pacific straight into Los Angeles County, delivering rainfall rates close to 1 inch per hour, far higher than early forecasts had suggested. In coastal communities like Santa Monica, Long Beach, and Huntington Beach, the storm arrived with a force that caught many off guard. Streets filled with water before storm drains could respond, pushing runoff into parking garages, underpasses, and low-lying intersections. Waves of lightning pulsed across the sky, illuminating palm trees bending under gusts approaching 45-55 miles per hour. Further north, Ventura and Santa Barbara faced their own challenges as the storm stalled over the region. Intense rainfall hammered the foothills, sending water rushing down narrow canyons. Fire officials immediately issued warnings for debris flows, especially around communities still recovering from recent wildfire seasons. By 3 a.m., the situation had worsened statewide. Numerous freeways, including parts of the 101, the 118, and the 710, experienced sudden flooding, forcing drivers to abandon their vehicles. Lifeguards along the coast reported dangerous currents and turbulent surf that made rescue operations nearly impossible. The storm had officially made landfall, and its momentum was only building. By the time the sun pushed through the morning storm clouds, Southern California was already facing widespread flooding. What surprised emergency officials wasn't just the amount of rain, but the speed at which water levels rose. In Los Angeles County, normally shallow channels like the Tujunga Wash and Bologna Creek surged toward capacity-swallowing bike paths and overflow lanes. Residential streets in Studio City, Burbank, and North Hollywood became waist-deep rivers within minutes. Orange County faced a similar crisis. Neighborhoods near the Santa Ana River watched muddy water spill over embankments, forcing families to scramble to higher ground. Fire crews responded to dozens of trapped motorists after cars stalled in intersections that had transformed into moving streams. Even major boulevards, Catella Avenue, Harbor Boulevard, and parts of Irvine Boulevard were inundated with fast-moving runoff. Further inland, the situation worsened as water from the mountains rushed toward the valleys. Riverside and San Bernardino counties reported sudden flash floods along canyon roads, with mud pushing across lanes and creating dangerous blind spots for early morning commuters. Meanwhile, in desert regions like Palm Springs and Indio, the hardened soil rejected the rainfall entirely. Water raced across the surface like a sheet of glass, funneling into washes and sweeping debris across highways. The storm was no longer just a weather event, it had become a full-scale flooding emergency across multiple counties.
There's somebody actually in that car right?
As the flooding expanded across Southern California, another threat emerged, one far more unpredictable and far more destructive. With every additional inch of rain, the region's already fragile hillsides began to destabilize. In the mountains above Malibu, Ojai, and Santa Barbara, saturated soil started to slide, carrying mud rocks and entire sections of hillside downhill in sudden violent bursts. Residents described hearing deep cracks in the earth, sharp echoing sounds that served as the only warning before mud began to move. In Pacific Palisades, a slope weakened by past wildfires gave way, sending boulders crashing onto residential roads and burying several vehicles. Fire crews rushed door to door, urging families to leave before more sections collapsed. Farther north, the foothills of Ventura County faced torrents of mud, pouring down creek beds, covering driveways, and trapping residents inside their homes. Bulldozers and rescue teams worked through the rain to carve temporary channels, just to keep water and debris from overwhelming entire neighborhoods. In the inland counties, the threat was just as severe. Along Highway 18 in the San Bernardino Mountains, multiple slides sent car-sized rocks tumbling across lanes, stranding motorists on both sides. Emergency responders had to hike on foot to reach drivers trapped behind the debris. The landscape was no longer stable. It was shifting, sliding, and collapsing in real time. As the storm pressed deeper into the region, the human impact became impossible to ignore. Across Southern California, people found themselves facing split-second decisions as water and mud advanced faster than anyone expected. In Sherman Oaks, a mother held her 2 children above rising water, while firefighters waded through chest-deep currents to reach them. In Anaheim, a family climbed onto the roof of their SUV after floodwaters swallowed the entire street below. Shelters in Los Angeles, Orange County, and Ventura quickly filled with residents carrying backpacks, pets wrapped in blankets, and plastic bags, holding whatever belongings they could grab before evacuating. Volunteers offered dry socks, hot drinks, and comfort to families who arrived shivering, exhausted, and overwhelmed. Not far away in Malibu, a hiker stuck behind a washed-out trail used a flashlight to signal a rescue helicopter hovering above the canyon. In the San Bernardino foothills, neighbors formed a human chain to pull an elderly man from a mud-filled ditch after his tires were swept off the road. Even in the desert, where storms seldom pose such danger, park rangers at Joshua Tree guided stranded hikers through swirling runoff as sudden flash floods cut off major trails. Through every rescue and every moment of panic, one theme echoed across the region. Ordinary people were forced into extraordinary acts of courage.
Oh na, bye-bye!
As rainfall persisted hour after hour, Southern California's critical infrastructure began to buckle. Stormwater systems that were designed decades ago proved no match for the intense downpours. In Los Angeles, pressure inside drainage pipes grew so extreme that several manhole covers were pushed upward by surging water. Streets along the 1 to 10 and 10 freeways resembled shallow lakes as runoff overwhelmed every available outlet. Across Orange County, transformers sparked in the early morning darkness as saturated soil caused utility poles to lose stability. More than 40,000 customers experienced temporary outages as crews struggled to make repairs in hazardous conditions. In coastal cities like Huntington Beach and Redondo Beach, water poured into underground parking garages, triggering alarms and trapping multiple vehicles below street level. In Ventura County, the Pacific Coast Highway became nearly impassable. Rock slides and mud flows buried sections of the road, leaving long lines of drivers stranded as emergency responders attempted to clear a safe path. Some motorists waited hours for assistance, as new slides occurred faster than crews could remove debris. Even the desert regions, typically spared from widespread infrastructure failures, were overwhelmed. Highways near Palm Springs disappeared under rushing sheets of mud, forcing officials to shut down major routes into the Coachella Valley. California's lifelines, roads, power systems, drainage networks were pushed to the brink, and the storm still had more to deliver.
Oh, shit!
As emergency crews continued battling floods, mudslides, and power outages, a deeper discussion began to unfold across Southern California. This storm was not an isolated shock. It was part of a growing pattern that scientists have been warning about for years. Warmer Pacific waters intensified atmospheric rivers, and longer dry spells, followed by sudden bursts of extreme rain, have created a climate equation unlike anything previous generations experienced. Residents who lived through past disasters said this storm felt different, faster, stronger, more unpredictable. Neighborhoods that rarely flooded suddenly found themselves underwater. Hillsides that survived decades of storms crumbled after only a few hours of rainfall. Inland communities like Riverside and Ontario, once buffered from coastal weather, found themselves staring at flood advisories and evacuation notices that were once unthinkable. Experts explained that moisture-laden storms like this are becoming more common, fueled by warmer oceans and shifting jet stream patterns. Atmospheric rivers now deliver several inches of rain in a fraction of the time, overwhelming infrastructure built for a different era. Communities began asking difficult questions. How do we protect homes built near canyons? Can our drainage systems handle storms like this every year? Are we prepared for a future where back-to-back weather extremes become the new norm? Across California, the message was becoming clearer. The climate is shifting, and preparation has never been more urgent. When the skies finally began to clear, Southern California stood before a landscape transformed. Streets once busy with morning traffic were covered in mud. Desert canyons still carried the echo of rushing water. Hillsides bore fresh scars from landslides that reshaped entire neighborhoods. Families stepped outside their doors unsure of what they would find: damaged cars, blocked roads, or pieces of their homes carried away by the flood. But through the destruction, something powerful emerged: the unmistakable spirit of the American West. Neighbors opened their homes to evacuees. Volunteers packed community centers to distribute supplies. First responders, exhausted but unshaken, continued working long after the rain had stopped. This storm was more than a natural disaster. It was a reminder of how quickly life can shift and how essential preparation, awareness, and unity have become in an era of extreme weather. As California faces a future shaped by stronger storms, rising risks, and changing climate patterns, staying informed is no longer optional. It's survival. If you want to continue following stories like this, stay ahead of future storms, and understand the forces reshaping our world, remember to like, share, and subscribe. because the next storm is already forming over the horizon.